What's up? It's the Hood Humanitarian, and today we'll be talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But I got two very special guests, and I'm gonna let them introduce themselves.
I'm Price.
I'm Michaela.
Alright, so those are the two guests. And like I said, today we're gonna be talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And then we will be looking at our computer because we don't have everything programmed in our head. And this is the very first podcast. We'll have an audience in the future. Alright, so yeah. So before we start, who's heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
I have.
You
Me
have.
too.
Alright.
Yeah.
So where did y'all hear about like Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Heard it in my intro to psych class.
Intro to psych.
Same. Intro to psych.
I heard about this on Google. Like I was just kind of scrolling one day, and I think Michaela, she brought it up in conversation. So I went and did a little research, and then I was like, hey, this is pretty interesting. So I want to see how this really applied to us. So we got a few questions that we'll try to like solve, and then I'll let Price read those for us.
You want me all of them?
You can read all of them. That ain't no problem.
All right. So the first question is: does this apply to Black/African Americans?
I'll help you out. Do we need to follow this chart?
How does this affect Black people from a man, woman, and child's perspective?
All right. How would this advance the culture?
And what effects can a person have if they skip steps?
All right. So Taylor is about to insert. That's my producer. That's behind the camera. He about to insert the Maslow's hierarchy of needs right here. Yeah, y'all didn't know he could do that. But hold on, we got some little pop-ups. But yeah, so we're about to get into it. Like I said, those are the questions that we'll be answering, and each one of us will talk about, each category or whatever, and then we'll go back to answer the questions. So, you want to get the first one for me?
Yeah. So the first one falls into the basic needs, and it's psychological needs. So that's food, water, warmth, and rest.
All right. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. That's like the bare minimum. Most people don't have like the bare minimum of like, getting food. Like I know on a previous video I talked about food deserts. Mm-hmm. So not just food, like the proper food, like nutrition. I feel like that play a part into like, our mental capacity. They always talk about you are what you eat. And then if you just eat bullshit all day, you're gonna be a bullshit person most likely. Like that's just being honest. But if you actually taking care of your body, it start with that food, and then like just having a place where you can get a peace of mind. So they also got like warmth and rest also. Like most people don't have that time to where they can actually, like detach from the world. Like you've been at work or school all day, and then you come to a home. I know for some people they go to a home where it's a lot of distractions. So that's something that really is needed. But what you think?
Yeah, I agree. These physiological needs are very important, especially like food and water. Like David was saying, you are what you eat. But the purpose is that because it's like food helps us think. Like we need food, we need energy. These are the basic things that we need to be able to be productive for the day. So that's how I feel about that first need. It's just the first step for everything.
All right. So now we'll go to like each one of the questions. So does this apply to Black/African Americans? What you think?
I think it definitely does. I think it applies to everybody, but yeah, for sure with Black people, like, hold on, let me scroll down. Like, thinking about a lot of people who have, like, that are less fortunate, not having the right things for them, like not having food, not being able to rest. Like, a lot of people work in multiple jobs. So, like, they're lacking in that area, so that can definitely impact them negatively.
Mm-hmm. And then for me, everybody know like I'm vegetarian. I've been vegetarian for like 3 years, but it's been a long journey. So like I said, it's not just the food, it's the nutrition. I know also in like the Black household, me being from Louisiana, we eat a lot of soul food. So we in Louisiana, it's a lot of soul food. It's a lot of barbecue. We get the best seafood. So it's like a bunch of stuff that's like stressing our body out. So it's like also the amount of food that we eat and intake also. And then at the same time, we got to make sure we have that nutrition. I'm gonna keep saying that nutrition. Like we gotta have that instead of just eating like starches and meats. Like that's putting a lot of wear and tear on our body. That's what I got for that one.
Yeah, I definitely agree that what Price said, it applies to everybody. But how it applies to African Americans is like she was saying, we lack some of this area, like we lack in this area simply because, you know, the prices of food. But I was keeping up with my hood humanitarian content, and you mentioned food deserts. So like that could be a way that we solve it in our black communities, those opportunity zones that you're talking about.
Yeah. All right, so we going to the next questions.
Wait, can I say one more?
Oh yeah, my bad. Go ahead.
So yeah, like what y'all was saying about like nutrition, like if you think about like black neighborhoods, the type of stuff that are available within our neighborhoods is just not good for us. Like if you walk down the street, you see a Crown Fried Chicken everywhere. You see you see a liquor store everywhere. It's bad, and it's like that's why the type of food we got is just not good for us because it's easy to get the bad food than it is to get the healthy food, and the healthy food is way more expensive.
I'm glad you said that because I went to Whole Foods today, and I probably spent like close to $60, and I just got like some regular items like some fruits, some vegetables. I got some juices, some other stuff, but that's the only place that we have access to like in downtown unless we go to like Krauser's. So technically we actually live in the food deserts. And then like you said, the chicken crown place, chicken biscuits, and they don't even have real biscuits, but that's a different story. But yeah, like that's what people have access to. And then we are in downtown, like we're in a downtown Newark, New Jersey. So just think about other black communities, like they probably don't have anything but like a chicken place or like a convenient, like a corner store where they can just get, you know, all this processed foods.
Yeah.
So, and then, oh my bad, but most of these are like, not only are they like food deserts, like it's a community that doesn't have a lot of resources. So when we talking about, you know, just the basic needs, if we not getting that and we don't have opportunities, that's going to lead to like a lot of other problems. But what were you saying?
No, I was just brain matching you guys because you're talking about all these food places. Like if you think about a family that, you know, they're a low income family, you need dinner for them, you could get like maybe $15-$20 and buy a whole like dinner for the family. But you were saying you were just getting basic food like vegetables, fruits, and that's $60. But then you went on to say it's important about nutrition, and if these are the foods that we need to feed our body and feed our mind so that we can be productive for the day, then something has to change in our black community.
Yeah, right. Because if I take $20, like if I'm going back to the old hood humanitarian, before I was hood humanitarian, before I was just David. If I had like $10 or $20 and I wanted to like get groceries, like it's a limited amount of stuff I can get. But if I went to a chicken place or a burger place, they'll probably have like a 2-for-3 joint or like a whole chicken box or a 26 piece for $13 or something. Like how you turn this stuff down? Because when you don't have a lot of food and you probably got like a lot of kids or like it's low income, you really thinking about quantity over quality. So we got to be able to like actually eat first before we even talk about nutrition. So that's something that we struggling with. And like in the food, there's a way we can stop that. It's like probably starting like a community garden or something like that. So that's my take on that. But what's the other question that we have? Do we need to follow this chart? I feel like we'll get to that one at the end. But how does this affect black people from a man, woman, and a child's perspective? So you can take that one.
As far as like the nutrition and stuff?
Yeah, like the basic needs.
I'm gonna start from a child since that's the earliest stage. I feel like that like they really do need those things, and a lot of them are lacking in that area. So it's like that's kind of affecting their development, you know. And like I said, like just being around in like what's available to them is not good. If they're doing that from a young age, what are they gonna be doing when they get older? Exactly. That's why we're like leading in like diabetes, because like it starts from a young age.
All right, and then also like we'll all just hit on like the different ones for like a child, man and woman. But yeah, for a kid, like, bro, I would be so frustrated like going to school and I'm just hungry. Like I'm talking about hungry and sleep. Like, and then we all work at a school, so kids come to school all the time and they're like, oh, I'm sleepy, I didn't get enough rest, I had to watch my baby brother, I had to watch my baby sister. So they not getting rest. And then on top of that, it's food also. So like that can impact like their education, like off back.
Yeah, I agree. Especially in this pandemic, when you're talking about the rest, like that's one of the physiological needs. There's some of the, scholars that have to take care of their siblings, but also with the food. Man, I lost my train of thought. What was I thinking? Yeah, come back to me. Oh yeah, okay. So with the food on the child's development, like it's just important. Like that's one of the essential needs. We're talking about those fruits and vegetables. This is what a child needs to be able to develop. We're talking about non-dairy products because vegan, but how they grow, they get the strong bones. Like these are the things that they need not only to be able to think but also to grow, like physically grow. So that's how I feel like it affects a child.
All right, and then do y'all want to speak for like the women? Because I'm not a woman, I don't know how to fix the woman all the way.
I mean, it definitely affects, like, if I eat bad, my mood is not good. And it affects my whole, like, the way I act, the way I feel. Like, I just feel like doing nothing if I'm not eating right. And it just, like, my overall, like, how I feel, like, energy-wise.
Right.
Yeah, same. I feel very sluggish. Like, I don't even feel like exercising. Like that's something I need to be able to do. But if I'm not eating right, like I'm not moving. And I don't know. I'd be really curious to hear like from a woman who is pregnant and how this would affect her.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
For a man, I would say this is, well, it's important to everybody. But for a man, like. And then we like look at gender roles or something like that. A man goes out and he works all day. Like you've been working all day. Most of us have like hard labor jobs because now we coming in the time where we starting to like own businesses and get degrees and education and everything. But it's a time where it's a lot of men. They just go out there and they work super hard. Like just think about people that work at a place like oil fields or something like that. It's like you working these countless hours. You working 40 plus hours a week, and then you always get something quick. Here we go again with like the nutrition. You probably going to like a quick store or something, or for people that do trucking, like you only stopping at certain places, and you might actually end up at a restaurant, but you trying to fill up on like steak, potatoes, something that's gonna last you a while. So then again, you're not getting that rest because you're on the road or you working all the time, and then when you come home, you got to be a dad or a brother or whatever, and you got to help with what's at the house too. And then like the eating habits are still just poor. So, and that's like a recipe for disaster. Y'all see what I did there? A recipe. But yeah. Do y'all got any more for that question?
No, I thought that was really good.
All right, so you can take this one.
How would this advance the culture? So I would say, like, if we had, like I said before, like what we were all saying before, like if better options were more accessible, I feel like that would definitely help out because it's definitely affecting children and adults within our community negatively.
All right, and I would say I feel like this is the most important part. Like once we get this nutrition down, once we start eating, like get the amount of food we're supposed to get in our body and rest, it'll be easier to fight a lot of other problems like this social justice. Like you can't even go out and protest and march because you tired, like you ain't eat or something like that, you grumpy. Now you out here causing trouble and you don't even have a clear conscience of what the goal is. Like if you're not eating, you're not getting rest, like you're not even worried about like helping somebody else, helping yourself, because shit, like the Snickers say, you're not yourself when you hungry. For real. But that's what I got on that one.
No, I definitely agree with you guys about that because this is like the first basic need. And a lot of people get confused because, like, oh, if I don't eat for a while, if I don't sleep for a while, then I'll be fine. I'm still okay to function. But after a long period of time, this begins to affect your cognitive abilities, how you think, what you need to do, how you walk, all of that. So I definitely agree with you guys.
All right. And the last question on this section is, what effects can a person have if they skip this step? Death. If you don't eat and you don't get your rest, nah, for real, like long term, like cancer. I know like one of the 3 causes of cancer is like too much protein, too much high processed sugar, and stress. Stress can be like mental stress. That can be stress on your body because it's getting too much protein, which is something that we eat heavily in our diet, and a lot of processed sugar. We eat a lot of processed food, like a lot of fried foods, fatty foods, stuff like that. So if you skip this step, you might be able to take a few steps, but hey, you're gonna slow down a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, especially in the Black community, I mean, we have access to this stuff, but not in the way that we need it and not in the quantity that we need it. So like David was saying, it really, like, it was funny, but it really can lead to death because think about if you're eating McDonald's and all of this every day, one, it could lead to obesity, but then there's diabetes, which runs high in the Black community. So definitely death, definitely aging, definitely like something with your brain too, for sure.
And if y'all saw the previous video with the food deserts, like the number 1 cause of death is like heart disease. So when you're thinking about all the stuff that you eat, like we said, chicken places, burger places, or always in the neighborhood, like that stuff clogs your arteries. Like how's your body supposed to get like proper circulation and oxygen throughout your body if your arteries get clogged up? So that come with like complications in your heart right there. But if nobody has anything else, we gonna go to the next step of basic needs. Are we good on this one? All right, so we back. Y'all see the eyebrow? The Johnny Bravo eyebrow. All right, so we back. We just recap physiological. Can somebody say that for me? Physiological needs. We just recapped that one. So the next one is also in a basic needs category, and it's safety needs. So in safety needs, they basically talk about security and safety. I know that's pretty kind of straightforward, but we gonna go through it anyway. So you got it first.
Speaking like specifically towards Black people within the Black community, if you think about like our neighborhoods, they're not necessarily the safest. So, and then once they start getting safe, it's gentrified. So the prices go up. So that means we're not even experiencing that safety. So it's like, I don't feel like we have a lot of that within our communities, and that definitely affects the children and the adults in a negative way as well.
Yeah. I'm glad you said it affects the children. It's like a little quote. It says, it takes a village to raise a child. And I really think that's true because luckily in my community, like we had like a good Black presence. Like I did grow up in the hood. That's why I'm called the hood humanitarian. But no, like it really took for my community to like help raise me. And then like growing up in a community, like a Black community, like most of us, we just keeping it real. Like most of us don't have fathers. So I had my mom, but she was at work all day. So where do I get my safety and security from? So it came from like my peers and like the older guys in my neighborhood that, oh snap, we got a technical difficulty. Well, we backing up. So see, the camera that we own is actually has safety and security because it was locked up right there. So that's what we need right here, like outside. Like we need the same thing. We need our people to be locked in together because it feel like the whole world is against us sometimes, especially when we go outside of our communities. Like we might want to go to another place, or I don't know if somebody said something, but we might want to go to another place, like visit some friends, but like just getting stereotyped. So it's no safety in that. And then at the same time, when we talk about safety, we can just talk about in our community against each other, And then we can talk about like the judicial system and like policing, all that type of stuff. Like that's playing a big part into our safety also. Like that's something that we really need, but first it got to start in the household. So if you don't get safety like within your household, it's kind of hard to identify like, you know, or like treat somebody else with like security and safety. So if like all of us live together and then we just rude to each other and like we not protecting each other, like having each other back, or like they can't depend on me, like what do you think is gonna happen when they go to the outside world? So yeah, that's what I got on that one. You got it.
My life flash before my eyes.
Yeah, so for this one, I really like this one because it still talks about like what's important in the Black community. So like they were saying, the Black communities that we grow up in sometimes aren't as safe as we need them to be. But also the fact that the security part of this safety portion is talking about like health, and that goes into like a big thing like health insurance and how a lot of Black people don't have health insurance. But also the fact that like this lady, I don't know if you guys heard of her, but her name is Dr. Tatum. She's the one who wrote Why Are All the Black Kids Still Sitting Together in the Cafeteria? Yeah, so she was saying families and parents, like Black families and parents, are doing the best that they can, and they'll even try to go to, you know, white neighborhoods and get us like a house in their area, and people, well, the white neighbors or the people who live in that area will say, you know, they don't necessarily feel comfortable, but that, you know, an African American or a different cultural group has moved into their, you know, neighborhood. So it's all about like even just feeling safe in your own neighborhood. Like if your parents choose to move you into like, you know, in the suburbs or in a white area, do you still feel safe in that area, you know? So it's not necessarily even if like, oh, even if I have all these resources, if you're the only Black family in that neighborhood, you could still feel like you're not safe, or you could still have this insecurity about where you live.
Right.
So that's how I feel about.
Another thing with that is like, what if you do feel safe in another environment? Like you move to like a predominantly white neighborhood. Like now, how do you think about people that look just like you? So I feel like that's another important factor. Like, do you want to see that same type of safety and security for someone else also, even when you get it? So like, and that does like play an effect, especially on like adolescents or like kids or something. Like I know I was real insecure about like where I stayed at, because I'm thinking like with my friends at school, would they look at me different because I'm like from a certain area? So they think I don't have like the same needs as them or like the same thoughts, but I actually do. So I remember like expressing it, like, or being proud of like where I'm from and like everything that's going on. So, and then being able to, like I said, I grew up in a good community where like I could talk to people about this if I was like frustrated. Not just everybody, but I did have a few people that I could like talk to about this. And when we say like security and safety, we're not talking about like, oh, I'm about to fight. Is somebody gonna have my back? I'm about to get jumped or something. Like, no, it can be like emotional security. It can be like spiritual, like for some people, like religion, like that can be like their safety or security also. But yeah, you got anything you want to add before we hit the questions?
Yeah, actually, I'm glad that Michaela brought that up. Like, I feel like, me personally, I feel like I probably would feel safer. It's gonna sound kind of weird, but I feel safer in the hood than I would in a white neighborhood. Cause, like just being honest, like I really feel like I would feel like more comfortable in the hood, even though like crazy things happen in the hood. But it's like, yeah. I don't know how to describe it. It's just like
you kind of know what to expect in the hood, like. Like most of the time, like people just think, oh, crime just happens for no reason in the hood. No, like most of the time, those people like they actually do something. Nobody is literally just going up and trying to rob somebody. You know why they robbing somebody? It's because they need some of these physiological needs. Like if you got food, you got rest, like all of this type of stuff. Like you got the money to take care of your needs. Nobody out here is just robbing for fun, and nobody's trying to commit crimes to get somebody because like they just like to do it. It's the lack of resources. Like that's something that they don't talk about. Like in criminal justice classes that I was in, there was like most people commit crimes against themselves, which is true. But the difference between us with the whole black on black crime, like we are placed in places where we don't have the resources. So then again, we go back to food deserts and liquor stores and everything in our community. Like we don't have basic needs. Like that's a basic need that we have. So like just going back to like the physiological needs, like we don't have that. We're not really worried about safety because we skipping steps now. So now we get to see the effect that all of this stuff has as we get to go further into Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah, I'm glad y'all said that though, because what you were saying, Price, she was saying like she would feel, more comfortable in the hood versus a white neighborhood. And, Dr. Tatum was saying, it's because we feel more relatable. Like we can relate to them. If you take a black person in a white neighborhood, everybody obviously experiences it differently, but she's saying just because you have this privilege of being in a nicer area, better resources, it doesn't take the fact that you still experience things differently than your white counterparts simply because you're black. So how people treat you is still going to be different just because of how you look. So even when David was saying something like, better resources, this is why people are stealing, this and that, it was just really true, because we get placed in some of these neighborhoods, like the realtors and the whole real estate agency, which David could tell you a lot more about, but research has said that you take a real estate agent, they call up their people and say, hey, who can I sell these houses to? And they'll tell you, don't sell this house in this neighborhood to any black people. Like they can do that. And so when we get placed in our neighborhoods, then what happens is we get put in this all black neighborhoods, the kids get placed in schools based off of where they live, and then it's just like a domino effect. So it's like all these security needs really play off of each other just because of the resources in our community. So when we say basic needs, these are the basic needs that we need as a black community, and it's kind of been set up against us. So
yeah. And then, like, to piggyback on what she was saying about, like, the real estate, in the 1930s, they had the whole redlining thing where it was like, don't give out, like, home loans to, like, these black families. Like, they actually had different districts and stuff, like, redline, like, actually drawn out on the map. So when you're talking about somebody that needs safety and security, like, we're not even being allowed to like own our house the way our counterparts are. And then today, we'll also do a video on this, but you got the appraisal system. Like when people want to sell their house or buy a house, like when you selling a house in a black community, you selling it for way lower. She also mentioned gentrification when it is getting safe. So when they bring these new businesses and everything in, we can look at Brooklyn for an example. Like where's the culture in Brooklyn that was there 20 years ago? So when it's becoming safe and it's getting all the resources, like people are starting to get kicked out or people are getting paid to move. And then when they're actually trying to sell their house at a decent price, it's getting appraised way lower. So on CNN, there was also like this interracial couple. Like the black woman, she had to take all of her photos out the house, all of that type of stuff. And like she just had pictures of her husband who was white and his family, and their house got appraised like 40% higher, which was like $130K for them. So that's the type of things that we struggle with, and that's just housing. So the end goal is trying to hit like self-fulfillment. Like that's one of the things, that's the top thing at the category, but that's just like within yourself before you can interact with like different groups and everything. But that safety and security, we got to work on that. All right, we can get into the questions though. So we, of course, does this apply to Black/African Americans? You want to take this one?
Yeah, I feel like we hit on it actually, like when we were responding to it. So it definitely applies to African Americans, simply because when we're talking about safety and security, it's really important after you have that physiological needs. You get your food, you feel good, like, oh, I feel rested. You need a place to be able to recuperate and to be able to be like, okay, I feel safe to do my writing. I feel safe to do whatever I need to do. So that's why it applies to African Americans, simply because of that. But we definitely talked about it a lot.
All right. And I know it sounds like we might be repeating these questions over, but we don't want to bring up a problem without a solution. Let me say that again. We don't want to bring a problem without a solution.
Oh my goodness.
All right. So with that being said, I'm going to read the next question. Do we need to follow this chart? How does this affect black people from a man, woman, and child's perspective? All right, so I can say for a child, you can be real like antisocial. Like we get into another step, but I'm not gonna give it what the next step is. But when we talk about people being antisocial or like introverts and all of that stuff, when they don't have that like security and safety, like they can affect like people's personalities. So that's the only thing I'll say on that. But if you don't, I mean, not if you don't. If you don't want to add anything, you can read the next question. Long story short, I just wanted you to read the next question.
Okay. I definitely agree on that with the antisocial thing. Like if you don't have that safety and security like within your household, it's gonna make you feel like you have to be the one to handle everything. And I think that's like super challenging, especially for like if we're talking about a child or anybody at all. But like if you're talking about a child, like how can a child handle like everything, especially if they don't have the basic needs, you know?
Yeah. Ooh, I want to add something. I feel like this gonna kind of sum it up, but if not, y'all can.
You can add something.
For like black men, like usually, like our role, like we protect and we provide. So. Like then again, if a father is not there or a father doesn't have their needs, like she just said, it can lead people to like trying to do it themselves. You got a lot of kids that's growing up fast because they don't have the security and like the safety. So they trying to provide that for themselves so they can come off like extra aggressive. They can lead people to doing things that they don't want to do. And that's the same thing for like women. Like most of the time, the woman has to like step up and like take care of the house by herself. And then again, at the same time, it gets to become like generational. So just think of somebody like me. If I didn't have like a beautiful community that embraced me, like who knows how it would turn out? Because I did get that security and safety from my community. But a lot of times that leads a lot of people to like joining gangs because you need. Don't worry about that. That's a little effect of our studio. That's how we save electricity. But yeah, so that's how most people join like gangs, or sometimes it don't even have to be gangs. When you get to college, you might want to join like sororities or fraternities or like different groups because you looking to like fill that void that you didn't have. Like you looking for a brotherhood, a sisterhood, like you know something that you can be a part of. But what y'all think?
Yeah. To answer this question, I really just have to like wrap up the man, woman, and child together just as a family, because everything that we were talking about as far as like housing, as far as food, all of these basic needs, like if you look at research, it says the number one reason why like families break apart or men and women break apart is finances. And if the redlining is happening, the appraisal is happening, we're not able to afford housing, like this is why like our black families are breaking apart. So that's all I have to say about that. Like it affects us. This affects us.
And then the last thing, like, and then again, we are still talking about basic needs. Like, bro, we were born on Earth. Nobody like was asked like, yo, I wanna go to Earth. Like I want to be born or something. Like you didn't have to put in a pre-application or something like that. Like so everybody needs a place to stay, like a place that they can own, a place that they can call home. So that's just something that's very simple. Like I see why this is called basic needs, because you cannot function without these basic needs.
You like that's really it.
All right, Michaela, you want to get a question? I know you got to turn your neck.
How would this advance the culture?
Ooh, I can speak on this one. So then again, we get back to real estate. I know it sounds like we being a dead horse, but like once we start owning stuff, like owning our homes, we have the safety, we have the needs and everything. Like it makes it easier for us to like make progress. And what I mean by making progress, like trying to get this self-fulfillment and like trying to actually like, you know, focus on our goals, like actually focusing on like what we want to do. So, but if we steady fighting for like basic needs, like that's like that can turn a lot of people cold-hearted because you out here fighting for like the bare minimum. So even like when we talk about security and safety with like black people and police brutality, like, bro, you supposed, according to them, like you supposed to be protecting and serving, like you supposed to provide that security. Like some people are security guards, like, but anyway, but like sometimes like we don't even get that from those people. So like I said, like she said, we try to like overdo it by like doing it for ourselves. But if we take care of this, that's a step closer to getting to where we need to be.
Alright, so my name is Price, and y'all can find my poetry videos and my artwork at ART_XC_poetry on Instagram. And I also want to shout out this black-owned business. Go to Instagram, go to _beautiful weirdos. She got chains and like rings and bracelets and stuff. It's fire.
Hi, I'm Michaela. I want to shout out Jewels by Me. She makes handmade jewelry. And then Clay Designs by Jada. She makes handmade jewelry too. Pretty Please Cosmetics. If you're looking for like a little nice foundation or skin product, it's all vegan. And then Jen Did That. If you like my hair, my highlights, she's a stylist here. Peter Collins Music. If you like listening to soothing music, beautiful music, then go ahead and give him a follow. And then Uppity by Baker. Her name is Melissa, and look at this. She makes beautiful handmade jewelry as well. And that says so damn black and proud. And that's what I am, so.
Okay, so I am David L. Holmes, CEO of Hood Humanitarian LLC. You can support me by subscribing, sharing videos, reposting on YouTube, Instagram, telling other people to follow. And you can also support me by following these long list of businesses that we got in credits right here. So I don't know how this edit going, but we got a whole bunch of names and Instagram stuff just popping all the way through that. So that's the way y'all can support me. But I'm the Hood Humanitarian, and I'm out. All right, I hope y'all enjoyed that short commercial break. But right now we're about to get into the third step, which is under the category of psychological needs. All right, so we just hit the basic needs, which was physiological and safety needs. Now we're on psychological, and it's two parts. So we're doing belongingness. Say belongingness. Belongingness. Belongingness and love needs. All right, so this is intimate relationships and friends. Michaela, you want to take this one first?
Sure. So this tier is really talking about after you got those basic needs, the physiological and safety needs, you really need people around you who are going to support you. So this is your peers, it could be your family, sometimes it's gang members, sometimes it's true. That's what they said. Sometimes it's a gang. So it's like people who
Like how you casually just said that.
sometimes it's gang members. It's just people who you feel like is really gonna support you,
right,
and be close to you. So that's really what this stage is about.
All right. So yeah, me and my gang member friends.
Ayo.
But yeah, I would say I was watching some interview and they was talking about like you really can't survive without like a friend, whether that be like platonic or like y'all intimate, but like everybody needs a friend or somebody they can talk to. Some people say like a dog is a man's best friend because at the same time that's probably somebody that's always with them, that supports them, even though they don't always talk back, but you do pick up energy and feelings and all that. But getting that from a human, in my opinion, would be much better. Like I probably wouldn't be here today if I didn't have like the support group. I told y'all that's a special effect that we got in the studio to save money. But But yeah, that's an important need. Like I was saying, I probably wouldn't be here today if I didn't have like the support in the friend group that I have, which is actually like my family. So those friendships, even those relationships, like you learn a lot of stuff in like different relationships before you hit your stratum or status of like being married or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever y'all doing out there. But yes, so everybody needs that friend, everybody needs that family member that they can count on. So belongingness and love needs handed to place.
You got it. Yeah, so I agree. I feel like even if you have the basic needs like safety and physiological needs, you still need like those friendships and relationships within your life, and especially if you do not have the physiological and safety needs, because like it's a lot of stress if you don't like have your basic needs, and then if you don't have those like friendships or relationships attached to that would be like very difficult to like live through life. So
yeah. And as we get to like psychology, I don't know the official definition of what psychology is. These two are the psychology graduates. Psychology graduates. I was social science, but I took a little psychology. But yeah, when you get to talking about like different like behaviors in people, like after they hit the basic needs, like that's when you start to like see like different behavior changes. So one of the things I talked about was like being antisocial, introverts, extroverts. There's a lot of different other categories. I'm sure Michaela probably can touch on that more than I can, but yeah, those are some of those psychological needs and like things that you start to see around this area.
Yeah.
You don't want to speak on that?
I mean, you're right. Those are definitely psychological needs.
All right. So as y'all can see, these two right here, these actually my friends, my real close friends. So they actually helping me with this podcast. So I probably couldn't do all of this by myself. And then here we go. We need those different perspectives because your friends and your family or your relationships and everything, they give you different perspectives on life. So sometimes you got to look at everybody as optimal. They always say you got to give respect to get respect or treat others like you want to be treated. So then again, when you look at somebody, like you need to be thinking about yourself also. So before you try to disrespect somebody, even if they the total opposite of you, like gender, skin color, politician, party, or whatever, you got to think of them like as actually humans. Like just a small interaction, even though you might not know this person, of course this person isn't your friend, but just making a friendly gesture, like that can do a lot for somebody because you never know what they're going through. I might be ready to fight one day and you just walk up and you say the wrong thing to me, and then like you might get some energy that was I'm probably mad about something at work or something like that, but you probably just disrespected me in the wrong way, which it could have been de-escalated, and we probably could have became friends or something, or you could have at least respected that person, and that could have went like a totally different way. So like that, like showing love is like not just like the people that, not just the people that's close to you, but like it's everybody around you. Like I said, I feel like love is like, here we go with the definition of love. But love is also like, respecting and like accepting everybody and everything for what it is, like as a whole. So that's what I got on that one. Oh, I forgot we got to get to the questions. But who y'all want to hit the question? Yes or no? No, we don't have that feature. Y'all want to play rock, paper, scissors? Who read the question?
All right.
There you go.
Let's go.
Gotta.
Oh.
Hold on, you did that at the end.
Me?
Yeah. Now that's y'all too. I just read the question.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Rock, paper, scissors. Now y'all go again.
You said I did it at the end? I messed it up?
We had the same one. What does that mean? That means you have to go.
Alright, the first question is, does it apply to Black/African Americans? Yes, it definitely does.
Yeah, I would say it does, and you want to make sure you're in the right, you got the right friends around you. You don't want to be around. Not saying gang members are bad, because they probably do got a lot of gang members that probably can, actually speak some knowledge into them when they get to like the OG status or whatever. I never been in the gang.
Can't speak from experience.
But yeah, you still might, as long as you have the right people around you, you might have a lot of foes around you instead of friends. You might have people that's basically close to you for like the wrong reasons. So I would say this does apply to Black/African Americans.
I really like this tier, y'all, simply because I really think this is like the group. Like, this year especially, I've been looking at my friend groups and like, who are the people who can hold me down? Who's going to be really honest to me? But just as a Black community, honestly, I feel like this is one of those stages where we excel the most. Like, if you see we have a tragedy, where are you looking? There's Black Twitter, there's Black Instagrams. Like, though they make jokes about it, it's like we are really, as a people, coming together to make sure, like, all right, like, even if we're making a joke about it, we're making sure that we're mentally okay or emotionally okay. So I feel like this really applies to African Americans, because I just feel like we excel in hyping each other up. Like, especially recently, with everything in the news. You see about the election, you see about the pandemic, you see about police brutality, exactly. Like, everything, we as a Black community are like making sure that everybody's okay. Even strangers, reaching out to strangers on social media, like, we are hitting each other up. But then there's also the whole idea of like, I see you, queen, I see you, sis. Like, I say that to some people say that to me, and it's like, I don't even know you, but sis, I see you in those shoes. We really do have, like, the Black community is a really good community for like support, just in general, just love and support and trying to build businesses and making sure that we get stuff of our own. So that's why I like this tier. It definitely applies to us.
I want to add to that. You crying?
It applies to us. It applies to you.
It's okay to cry. It's okay to cry.
Yeah, it is okay to cry.
I think, like what you were saying about with all the things that we go through, I feel like within the Black community, if we talk about mental health, there's definitely, I feel like it's going away now, but there's definitely that negative stigma where people feel like, you don't need a therapist, that's for crazy people, they just want to be in your business, and that negative stuff. So it's like, if we're talking about the people who kind of like don't, like, they choose not to go the therapy route, it's definitely important to have those good, strong friendships and relationships in your life, for sure.
Ooh, I got one. I'm glad you said that. This might take a little slight turn, but when people don't have like their family that supports them, the friends, where do a lot of people turn to?
Where?
Drugs.
That's a fact.
That's true.
Some people use the alcohol as their friend or something.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah.
When we were talking about how like they got like the unhealthy shit in our neighborhood, like the liquor stores.
Yeah.
Liquor stores, like,
I ain't even think about it like that.
So accessible.
So that's actually the corner stores or the chicken places is our health food store, and then the liquor stores is actually our pharmacy.
Yeah.
You see that right there? That's true. And that's in the Black community. That's why it's important for us as friends to like come together and support each other. And then, like they said on Twitter, like, it might be somebody that's going through something that's like somebody might be depressed, and I've seen like tweets every now and then where somebody's like, man, I really don't feel like living. Like, whether they thinking about like suicide or not, but for people to like to check on them and like to give them motivational messages, or like a lot of retweets of saying, we here for you, we got you in our prayers. People that you don't even know, like, that can mean a lot to somebody who's in, I don't know, like Florida or something, who doesn't have friends around them. But just for like that social media, like, you got to think about it. Social media, it's like a place where people want to be social, like, because especially in the pandemic, we're not even meeting the people the same way that we would, like, 10 or 15 years ago. Like, most people, like, look at the way like people date now. Back in the day, it used to be scanning the pen, meaning you got a pen and you write it down on your hand or something like that. But now everything is like over social media, so it's a different type of like a support, whether that be like an actual relationship or like a friendship. Like, there's people that have long distance relationships, so they probably can't get the same thing in their area because their community probably isn't like, you know, secure or safe to them, and they don't feel like they can actually go out and like, you know, pursue somebody or pursue like a friend or something like that. But we could talk about this one all day, to be honest.
I'm gonna just jump in and follow up what you guys are saying, especially about mental health. I really like that, you know, Price mentioned it, because in our black community, like she was saying, people look at you like, oh, you crazy. Well, it used to be. It's starting to get better. People look at you like, oh, it's crazy. It's this negative stigma. And even if you like extend it, we are also like, black people are also known for like, you know, their spirituality and all of that. If you like have some type of spirituality, you believe in, like, you know, God or whoever you believe in, don't let people trick you and say, oh, you know, you need to pray it out of you. Because I had that growing up, and it's like, yeah, you can pray and you can have faith, but don't let that be the reason why you don't have people to talk to as well. And if you don't have people in this belongingness and love needs step, seek out a therapist. Like, therapy is not for crazy people. Even if you're like, oh, I don't know, I'm here just because I feel a little off, therapists are there to help you and talk you through your thoughts. So like, don't think that you can't get this step if you feel like you don't have friends or anything. People are out there for you.
Yeah, and it's also good to like, you know, tell, or if you got those friends or whatever, like, tell them what you're going through. Sometimes you might be sitting next to somebody and you don't know what they're going through because, one, they probably need to feel comfortable enough to express that. But at the same time, y'all might be going through the same stuff. Or you might know 10 people that's going through the same problem that you're trying to help now. Or like you trying to at least listen to. Or like I said, you might be in their shoes one day. Mm-hmm. So it's good to like, sometimes people, like with this step, the reason why this is important, because a lot of times people feel like they're alone in whatever they're doing.